20 years ago, I did live in Bedford. I go to church in Bedford, and I shop in Bedford, and I love the Bedford area. I have been a social worker at Trinity High School for the last 10 years, and prior to that, I worked in another school district, and I've always worked with at-risk children. So one of the reasons that I'm here today is to advocate for the daytime curfew. One reason that I think it's so important is one of the things that Dr. Tribble mentioned, and that is we do have over 20,000 students in this area. Our elementary school students, many times, some of those students aren't even enrolled in school. And by having a daytime curfew, that gives the parents notice that they need to do something about their school's attendance. Their child's attendance, excuse me. I noticed that early on in my career that many times families who move from one place to another, they don't school their children. And although there are some people who do homeschooling, and I've had friends who have done it and do it properly, there are a lot of people, even though Bedford is a beautiful, wonderful community, who have children who are not in school. So one of the good points about having a daytime curfew is to make sure that all children have an opportunity to have an education. That's why that law was started to begin with. And in Bedford and in Tarrant County, I think we're very fortunate that we work as a community and that no child is left behind. We very much take care of all the kids, and we do that because all of our social service providers try to work together and to help all of our families and children get a good education. One of the questions that Dr. Tribble also touched on was about the parents and the students when we get them back into school. What do we do and how do we help them? We help them with the social services that is provided by Tarrant County and by the school district. And again, we do that as a group. If we did not work as a group, we would never be able to provide all the services that the families need to help the children be successful. We have some families who use drugs. Those families need to be given an opportunity to get some help. We have families who live in dire poverty and really do not have the resources to send their kids to school. Sometimes they don't even know where the schools are. On a high school level, this is very sad to say, but the truth of the matter is we have a lot of homeless kids. And when these kids are out on the street, very often we know that they make impulsive decisions. Those decisions impact your community. I have kids who, most of the kids at Trinity, I have a very good relationship with them, but when they get in trouble, it's usually when they're not in school. School is like home to them. When they're at home and they're at Trinity, they're not in any trouble. When they're out and about during the daytime, if they're with a group of other students, they're in someone's house, they're in apartment complexes where there's no supervision, they're in your community, and the problem is they make impulsive choices that affect their lives, the lives of your children, and it takes the opportunity that they will have from the future away from them. So I really am an advocate. Our police departments, both in Bedford, Hearst, and in Euless, have always been friends of the school district, and we've always worked very closely together. And actually, most students do not really fear the police. And many times it's the police department who are the ones who help the child or the family to begin with. And so even though there might be a ticket issued, that ticket might be the very first thing that happens in their life to give them some hope to get a series of services from the community to help them be successful. We have lots of services available at the school, but if we don't have the kids in the school, we can't offer children those services. So my role as a social worker and as someone who is an advocate for children puts me in a very difficult position. Normally I would never be advocating for anyone to be ticketed, But I think, and I have learned in my years of experience, that sometimes that is the only way that we can get the child the services that they need. So I want to thank you for listening to me. I do know that sometimes there could be very few people, I think, that might be impacted who are homeschoolers. And usually in a case like that, again, we would be very sorry for anyone to be inconvenienced. But I think when you look at the greater good, someone may be having to get a call and explain, to a parent that a policeman picked them up and let them know that their child is being homeschooled is, when you look at that and you think about a child's future, about what could happen to them for being truant and not being in school, what you see is that it's much more advantageous to the greater population to have this rule in effect. So I want to thank all of you very much for listening to me.
Questions, counsel? Got a question for you, ma'am. Ms. McIntyre?
Don't run away too quick.
Okay.
As a crisis counselor
Yes.
at Trinity High School, do you
Yes.
have any specific cases that you can cite that this ordinance has been beneficial?
Well, the ordinance just came into effect this year, and what I do know is kids that have been in my office have mentioned that, we're going to be in school this year because we know if we're not, we will be ticketed. But I also know that kids are very smart, and because they know that if they leave school, they can receive a ticket, they're not going to leave school. And as many people have stated before, most of these kids are good kids, but when you put them in a situation where there's no parental control, they make impulsive decisions. And so, I do know of a lot of situations that have happened over spring break, that have happened during the summertime, that have caused our kids to get into a lot of trouble, and that's because there was no supervision. So we want to make sure that when they should be at school and where there is adult supervision, that they have an opportunity to be at school.
Thank you.